Good morning, Market Chameleons. Everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon pre-market show. Before we get started, take a look at the shared disclaimer. Be aware neither Market Chameleon, Dimitri, or myself are registered investment advisors or a broker-dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. As always, this show is for informational purposes only concerning Market Chameleon tools and products. With that, good morning, D.
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Good.
Let me share my screen here. Good morning, everyone. If you're joining us for the first time, Will and I, we do these shows in the morning to try to help answer questions you may have about the Market Chameleon tools, the data, or the analytics. If you have a question, type it into that live chat on YouTube. Will's keeping an eye on it, and he'll let me know when they come in and read them back to me. And to give you a couple minutes to put those questions in, we're going to go over our pre-market report, see what insights we could get in the pre-market trading, and then we will move on to our questions. So let's start out with the pre-market report here. Up top, you will notice a calendar view with summary statistics, what happened in the pre-market hours on these particular dates. It allows you to eyeball and quickly scan the most recent days to compare to the today's date and spot if there's anything unusual or trend. Let's review today's date, October 3rd. Here we see 353 stocks are trading higher in the pre-market, 539 stocks trading lower. We have 380 million shares trading on up volume, 90 million on down volume. We have $2.2 billion worth of stock trading higher, $2.8 billion worth of stock trading lower. So from that perspective, it looks like a slightly bearish bias in the pre-market trading. Let's look at it from a couple more perspectives, and then we'll move on to our questions. So I'm going to slide down the page. And now you get this more granular view of what's going on in pre-market trading. We have stock symbols with price and price changes. We also have volume. We have our most active stocks, our biggest percentage gainers and biggest percentage decliners. Down here, I see 46 stocks made it onto our biggest percentage gainers list, 110 on our biggest decliners. So from that perspective, it also looks like a more bearish bias in pre-market trading. Now, with the trading in the pre-market, stocks could have very low volume, very low liquidity. So we do set thresholds, trading thresholds for the stock to meet for them to make it onto this list. And if it hits those conditions, it could make it onto this list, and that will include small cap stocks, ETFs. It could be a leveraged ETF or an inverse ETF, it could be a preferred stock, and so forth. And to narrow down this group of stocks further, we could use the filters that are available to us up here. Now, I'm going to talk about these two filters. The first one, it's the filter in my watch list. It allows you to filter out this report by stocks that you saved in your own unique watch list. So if you created a watch list with 10 stocks, 20 stocks that you like to track, you could use that filter, and it will see if any of the conditions, hit on that watch list will show up here. Sorry, my puppy came here to visit me. So but we're going to review this filter here in ETF. And it's a similar concept. I'll show you how that works. If you click on it, you get this drop-down menu to select from. These are different ETFs. You got broad-based ETFs, sector ETFs. And when you click on it, let's do SPY over here, you'll see that the list below gets filtered by stocks that are holdings in the SPY ETF. So these are the S&P 500 constituents. And the idea there is if you saved like a S&P 500 watch list, you could use that to screen this report or any report that we have this filter available on. And here you see 6 stocks made it onto our biggest percentage gainers list, 6 on a decliners. So that's a mixed bag. And we gave it a couple minutes, Will. If you have questions, I'll take them now.
No questions have popped up. Let me just give me. Chuck is asking, curious what minimum thresholds are.
Yeah, so all right, one sec, I gotta let her out. Go ahead.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Yep. So
Or let me go
yeah,
share
no,
my.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
When yep,
There you go.
let me come. Sure. Hold
All
on,
right.
let me
To
grab
take
it
over the
back.
screen. Yep.
Yeah. So when we, and that was a good question, when we look at the pre-market trading, sometimes there are stocks that could trade maybe one share, not even 100 shares, one share, 2 shares. It could trade 100 shares, maybe even 200 shares, and that's it. So, and that 200 shares, because stocks are illiquid, could show up as a percentage gain of 3%, 4%, 5%. But in reality, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the stock is really trading at. If that's all there was, and the markets are wide, and there's no more indication of lots of stock bid for, lots of stock offered at a certain price point. So what happens is that you'll get a list. Like here, we could go look at a screener here. So this is a screener. So I'm looking at stocks above $5. Okay. And this shows the price, and this here, the only preset conditions are these two: the volume, total volume, and price. But I could even take those up. I could say any price, any volume, right? And now we get all these stocks that traded in a pre-market, 11,251 different, stocks in here. And let's just look up here by biggest percentage gains. And what you'll see is, and you could use this, yourself to see if, anything else sticks out. And what can happen is, let me see if I could show you an example here. I mean, here's, sometimes you have very low price stocks. Here's 4 cents, traded 400 shares. It looks like it's up 20%. But is that really something that significant that you would want to filter out? That you have a 4-cent security here that traded 400 shares up 20%. It's probably not that meaningful, right? Unless you got a lot more volume and you're showing that something is bid for. Here's 160 shares that traded in a stock NEO. So that looks like it's up 14%. But if that's all that traded and we don't have any other indication that there's more bid for, or there's more trading going on, it may not be significant to filter out, because what you're trying to do is point out something that is really trading higher or lower that could be actionable, right? Or that there's something going on there that it's even tradable on those markets. So as you could see, out of 11,000, here's another one, 240 shares. So that's all that traded MSC, but it looks like it's up 12.4%. So if you just report this trade up 12.4%, it looks like maybe something is going on. But that's looking at 240 shares total traded. And again, we're not detecting that there's more there that's bid for that would be actionable, right? So given that, to try to, avoid these because you're going to get a lot of these. We have measures in place to go through that and say, okay, there needs to be certain thresholds that this stock, needs to meet a requirement for us to put it on the list so we could say maybe it's worth taking a look at, right? So even with that, you could see that in our summary, like if we go back to the summary, even with that, you still get a, 47, 116. So even that is, we even narrowed down further from here. But this gives an initial look where we're like, okay, you know what, there may be enough volume there and enough of a price change and enough liquidity in the bids and offers that we're detecting that may be worth an additional or further investigation. So you says sometimes here it's not even here DAO, that only traded 20,000 shares, which is not a lot, right? That's not a lot of volume. 20,000, compared, you got some that are trading in the millions. But we detected that it's significant enough for this stock, okay, because it's also relative to how much a certain stocks trade. And we detected that there's enough trading around that price and enough liquidity, where that it looks like there's things on the books that are appearing that that the stock is actually, down 10% and something might be going on. We could see here there's even news on it. So the idea here is that we try to first filter out and see that, okay, the price moved by big enough percentage here because these are biggest gainers, biggest decliners, right? These are most actives. So for the gainers, the stock needs to be up, right? For the decliners, it needs to be down. And we have the trading thresholds. So we got minimum volume, liquidity. So liquidity would include, are there, things that we see detecting bids and offers that look like that the stock is moving and there's actual, trading interest. Then we got a minimum for the gainers, a minimum move, so for example, a 1% move, let's say, is not, it's not even a crazy move, but maybe it's enough in certain stocks where it's worth a look. But certainly you don't want to see every 1% move because there are stocks that are very low priced, like what's a 1% move in a dollar stock is just a penny, right? So that could be, which is not that significant if you have a stock that's, has a bid and offer that could be 3-4 cents wide. So, so that stock alone could be going back and forth, up 3%, down 3%, just because it's a low price stock. So taking all that in, looking at the statistics of how this stock trades in the pre-market, as well, so something like maybe Apple, 40,000 shares in a pre-market is not a lot. It typically trades maybe in the millions. But for another stock, 40,000 shares in the pre-market could be a lot because it typically doesn't trade. Let's take a look. Let's come back to this screener that we were talking about. So you could see here on the top, NVIDIA right now traded almost 7 million shares in a pre-market, right? So that's for NVIDIA. But if we look at it in the last 20 days, on average, it trades about 8 million in the pre-market. So it's not even, volume-wise, it's not even that significant for NVIDIA, even though the volume itself is significant. But on a relative basis, that's normal for NVIDIA. That's what it typically does. So it's not something where like, oh wow, this is so unusual. It's a lot of volume, but that's what it typically does. Here's one right below it, SHV. This trades 5 million shares in a pre-market, but typically we see about 1.3 million. So even though it trades a lot in a pre-market, still 1 million shares in a pre-market on an average day is a lot, but today's volume is 3.7 times high, right? So maybe something's going on there. Maybe it's worth taking another look at SHV, just to see, well, what's going on there. And you could see that the price, it's not moving, in the pre-market up or down. So there's just a lot of stock trading at yesterday's closing price. Um, so these are all relative values that we're looking at and computing to try to say, okay, first, we don't want to be too restrictive where, if we're too restrictive, then you might maybe miss something there that's worth taking a look. So the list is still pretty big, but we want it to be restrictive enough that you're not getting a bunch of, you're not getting all these 11,251 securities that are in there, because then you're just going to see everything, and you're going to get every time a dollar stock moves 3 cents, you're going to, on 200 shares, they're going to fill up the list. So that's what the minimum thresholds are. If it's not a hard set number, they're dynamic. So the system is looking at it's trailing historical numbers. So it does look at a stock's typical behavior in a pre-market, so look at, its volume profile, changes in prices, and so forth. So it's a dynamic, conditions that are updating, as time goes on. So, for example, if a stock maybe traded zero volume in a pre-market, but then all of a sudden, it starts trading, 10,000, 20, 30,000 shares on a daily basis. Well, given if it's doing that, over 20 days, 30 days, then really that's its typical average volume. And then we would take that into account. So it's no longer zero. Really, the new volume is like 30,000 shares, a day. So it's no longer an unusual amount. So that's what it's doing. It's taking in the new information on a daily basis, recomputing to reference those benchmarks and thresholds. So in here, yeah.
Santi was just asking, so any stock appearing on the pre-market list is worth to have a look, to dig deeper in?
It's an initial, what it is it meets our initial thresholds, right? So we don't know if there's a big list. It may not, but it meets at least
It's a starting
certain three. Yeah, it's a starting point. Like, okay, Mets, these initial trading thresholds that we were able to filter out from 11,251 stocks, right? So we got 11,251 things in there that look like they had something happen, right? That's a lot. So we filtered it down from that to, I don't know what was it, a couple hundred, So then you want to filter out further because we gave you additional filters, and you could set your own thresholds. So we could take this list over here, right, and we could say, look, I want a stock that is trading 5 times its average daily volume in a pre-market. right? So once I do that, and we'll say average stock volume, I don't know, needs to be above 100,000. So let's see. Now I just narrowed it down to 99, right? Let's say I want the stock to the price percentage change. I need it to be above 4%. Yeah, let's say at least a 4% gain in a pre-market. So now what I did was narrowed it down to 8, right? And let's say I need the stock price to be, let's say, above 25 bucks. Okay, now I got it down to 2. So you could see, you could use your own thresholds and then save it, and then you could do your own pre-market, report. So if I like these thresholds, I could save it and say, like my minimum thresholds, save it there, and then come back there, and you could, get get that report. So you could see here, 2 of these stocks made it on. This one's up 5%, this one's up almost 8%. The relative volume, this only traded 15,000. This traded only 12,000 shares of stock. But on a relative basis, you could see that it's more. This typically trades only 700. This trades only 3,000. And this one had some news on it too. So we put the headlines here. So there's some news on it. You could read about it. And these are, it looks like, small market cap of $1 billion, 1.6. We could do a different, what if we wanted to look at big market cap stocks? I'm going to release this. Let's look at, let me see if I have a market cap in here. Usually I do. So, okay, market cap here. So let's say we want to look at market caps over 100 billion, right? And we needed, let's say that it's trading 2 times its average daily volume. So here are 5 stocks, large market cap, and the pre-market trading, the volume is 2 times, at least 2 times its average daily pre-market, right? So here's IBM, traded 2 million shares, and typically trades like under 10,000 shares in a pre-market. So it's usually not active in a pre-market. So that's maybe something. It didn't move that much. But here's its VWAP price. It's low, it's high. So we narrowed it down to 5 stocks that, and maybe these are all related. I don't even know what these stocks are, but you could see that these are large cap stocks here, over 100 billion, 200, and they normally don't trade that much in a pre-market. Here's its 20-day average. But today, traded more. Maybe this one, not so much, 3,000 contracts, 9,000, 12,000. But this one has 2 million. This one, 28,000. So it's up to you if that even, you have some of the news headlines here. Then it's,
See, you can click on there's a fact sheet over there where we can click on that, right? And get more information on this.
Yeah, you could click on it on this fact sheet, and then you could get more information on
you see it's a
what it
technology
does.
software company. You can click about.
Yeah, about what it does, charts, and so forth. So you have these tabs to click through to get a quick overview of what this company does.
A great quick research tool.
Yeah. So that allows you more flexibility because now you're in control of the filters available. You could set them, and then and you could have multiple saved. You could create different types of settings. You could create one, maybe biotech stocks, one tech stocks, create those settings, and then come here and see if anything meets those thresholds in the morning.
Hey, D.
Yeah.
We just had someone pop in. how did you get to this screen again?
Yeah, so this screener here, it's when you go to the pre-market report, you're on a summary page. And then this tab here, you get these two tabs. So, well, you have four tabs and you hit on the screener. And this allows you to screen out, your own pre-market thresholds. The pre-market screen under stocks, if you go under stocks here, pre-market trading. So go to here, you land on the summary page. And once you're on the summary page, just hit on the screener. And that will allow you, then you could, if you like, I don't know, stocks under $5, you could do under $5. If you like, stocks over 25, you could do that. If you do market cap, if you like healthcare stocks, you could do that. If you just want to do by your own watch list, you could do that. So you do have those more flexibility using that screen.
All right. Well, that was great, D. That was super helpful. Who knew we would get almost a half hour on that interesting discussion brought up by Chuck. Great job.
Yep.
Nice
Thanks,
question,
Chuck.
Chuck. It is a holiday, so a lot of people may not be here tomorrow. So I might as well mention that we have an upcoming IBKR webinar. It's the second Tuesday of the month, and that's when we do them. And you have to go to Interactive Broker's site to register. I think it's going to be on implied volatility leads. Is that correct, D?
Yep.
On this coming Tuesday at 2.
Tuesday. Yep.
So I'm putting the link in the chat. You have to register on Interactive Broker's site. We will see everyone tomorrow, hopefully. Everyone have a good holiday. If you are away or spending time with the family. D, great job, buddy.
Right. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a great trading day. Yep. Hope to see you guys.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Trade in peace, chameleons. Everyone have a great day. Thanks, D.